After flying to Australia for a full day of business meetings in Sydney, I wheeled into the lobby of my hotel at 2 a.m. wearing a tracksuit, exhausted beyond words. The second I walked through the doors, the night managers, Brenda and Malik, stared at me like I'd brought a disease into their precious marble palace. Brenda pointed at my legs and announced, "Another wheelchair scammer." Malik actually walked behind me and started doing this cruel impression of someone in a wheelchair, making exaggerated rolling motions with his arms. I just took a deep breath and tried to focus on checking in. Brenda walked around the desk and got right in my face. "Prove it," she said. "Prove you actually need that chair." Before I could respond, she was demanding I pull up my pant legs. I lifted them to show my atrophied muscles, and she actually pulled out a pen from her pocket and started poking at my calves. "Can you feel this? What about this?" My face burned with humiliation as she probed my legs like I was some kind of fraud who needed to be exposed. Malik put his hand on Brenda's shoulder. "Hey, maybe we should slow down. He might not, you know." He tapped his temple and then started speaking to me in this exaggerated slow voice like I was a toddler. "Hello there. Do you understand what's happening? This is a hotel, a nice place where people sleep." Brenda caught on immediately. "Oh gosh, you're right. That explains everything." She leaned down close to my face and started talking super loud and slow. "Should we call someone who takes care of you?" Malik actually started miming sleeping and pointing at the hotel like he was playing charades. I was so tired, and now I had to sit through being treated like a child who couldn't understand words. "If he can't even understand basic English," Brenda said, backing away from me. "Who knows what else is wrong with him or what he's carrying?" Malik nodded and wiped his hands on his pants where he had touched my wheelchair. That's when Brenda disappeared behind the desk and came back with a can of Lysol. She started spraying it all over my wheelchair and body. It stung my nostrils and made my eyes water like I was cutting onions. "Goodness knows what diseases you're carrying," she said while half the can dripped down my wheels. I sat there soaking in Lysol, trying to breathe through my mouth, when Brenda noticed this woman checking in at the other end of the lobby. She grabbed Malik and they started whispering and pointing at me. Brenda took out her phone and snapped my picture. "He's probably here to follow women like you into the accessible bathrooms," she said loud enough for me to hear. "It's always the ones in wheelchairs who are the pedos." I wondered which was worse, that they thought this about disabled guests, or that they felt comfortable saying it out loud. Malik immediately ran to block the accessible bathroom door with his body, while Brenda showed my photo to the woman checking in. She started warning her about me like I was on some registry. I wanted to wheel myself out, but that would look like guilt, and I was trapped in this nightmare they'd created. 2 female employees came out of the back office and Brenda showed them my picture, too. They practically ran back to the office and locked the door. Every insult was another line in their termination letters, but they were too busy enjoying themselves to notice. Especially Brenda, who was now moving toward me with purpose. She grabbed the bag off my lap. "Security check," she announced before dumping everything onto the floor. My medications scattered and rolled away. My folder of acquisition paperwork from the Australia deal spilled open. But what caught her attention were my medical documents. She snatched them up, and her face twisted into something genuinely cruel. "Your R-worded mother couldn't even birth you right," she said, holding my diagnosis paperwork. "She probably knew you'd be broken and tried to flush you out." I'd heard cruel things before, but having someone insult my mother while holding my medical papers felt different. Suddenly, she started ripping them up, throwing the pieces at my face. They fluttered down like confetti while she laughed. Malik was taking photos of the scattered papers, saying something about showing what happens to cripples who don't belong in 5-star establishments. That's when Malik picked up one of my medical cards from the floor. He read the name and froze completely. "Elias Wren," he said out loud, his voice strangled. "Brenda, that's the CEO's name." Brenda was still holding torn papers. "What?" She looked from the phone to me. Same face, same name, just covered in Lysol instead of wearing a suit. "We just called the owner a child lover," Malik whispered. "Mr. Wren, please, we didn't know," Brenda stammered, her hands shaking. Malik was backing away, mumbling apologies, his face completely white. She instantly handed me a key card for the hotel room, and I wheeled myself into the elevator without saying a word. And once everything was said and done, I planned on making them pay. Because insulting me is one thing, but insulting my mom is another. The elevator ride up felt endless. My hands gripped the wheels of my chair so tight my knuckles went white. The Lysol smell clung to everything, making my stomach turn with each breath. When the doors finally opened on the executive floor, I wheeled myself down the hallway to my suite, the key card shaking in my hand. Inside, I locked the door and just sat there in the darkness for a moment. My clothes were damp with disinfectant. My medical papers were gone, torn to pieces by someone who thought my disability made me less than human. But worse than all of that was hearing someone speak about my mother that way. She'd been gone for 5 years, and hearing Brenda use her memory as a weapon felt like a physical blow. I wheeled over to the desk and opened my laptop. My hands moved on autopilot as I logged into the hotel's corporate system. As CEO, I had access to everything, including the employee database. Brenda Lang and Malik Rose. Both had been with the company for 3 years. Brenda had 2 previous complaints for customer service issues that HR had somehow let slide. Malik had a clean record, which made his behavior tonight even more disappointing. I started typing an email to our head of human resources, Natalie Shaw, then I stopped. An email wouldn't capture what had happened. This needed to be handled properly, with full documentation. I picked up my phone and scrolled to the security office number. Even at 3 a.m., someone would be monitoring the cameras. The security guard who answered sounded half asleep until I identified myself. Then his voice snapped to attention. I asked him to preserve all lobby footage from the past hour and make backup copies immediately. He confirmed the cameras had captured everything, including audio from the main desk area. Good. Evidence would be crucial. Next, I called Natalie directly. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice groggy but professional. I explained the situation as calmly as I could, though my voice cracked when I mentioned what Brenda had said about my mother. Natalie's sharp intake of breath told me she understood the severity. She said she'd be at the hotel within the hour to begin the investigation. I spent the next 30 minutes documenting everything while it was fresh, every word, every action, every detail. My business training kicked in as I created a timeline of events. The acquisition paperwork from the Australia deal was scattered on the lobby floor, probably being stepped on by whoever was working the morning shift. Those documents alone were worth millions, and Brenda had thrown them around like trash. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie saying she was in the lobby reviewing footage. Another buzz, this time from Julian Cho, our chief operating officer. Natalie must have called him. His message was short. Elias, I'm horrified. Full investigation starting now. Whatever you need. I wheeled myself to the bathroom and finally got out of my Lysol-soaked clothes. The shower helped wash away the chemical smell, but not the humiliation. As I dried off, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. Same face that was on the company website, in the annual reports, in the press releases about the Australia acquisition. But tonight, that face hadn't mattered. All Brenda and Malik had seen was the wheelchair. By the time I was dressed in fresh clothes, my phone was lighting up with messages, the head of security confirming he'd made multiple backup copies of the footage, our legal counsel asking if I wanted to pursue criminal charges for assault and destruction of property, and the general manager of the hotel profusely apologizing and asking how to proceed. I responded to each one professionally, making it clear this would be handled through proper corporate channels. No shortcuts. No special treatment because I was the CEO. If our HR processes meant anything, they had to work for everyone, including me. A knock at my door interrupted my typing. Through the peephole, I saw Natalie standing there with her briefcase and tablet. I let her in, and she immediately apologized for what I'd experienced. But I could see the HR professional in her taking over as she set up her tablet to record my statement. For the next hour, I walked her through every detail. She asked careful questions, making sure she understood the sequence of events. When I got to the part about my mother, she paused the recording to compose herself. Natalie had been with the company for 15 years. She knew my history, knew how my mother had fought for me to have every opportunity, despite my disability. After we finished, Natalie showed me screenshots from the security footage on her tablet. There was Brenda poking my legs with her pen. There was Malik miming and talking to me like I was mentally impaired. The Lysol assault was captured in clear detail. What makes someone think they can grab a stranger's medical papers and tear them up? Brenda went from poking my legs with a pen to destroying personal documents. That's such a strange jump in behavior. And there at the end was Brenda tearing up my medical documents while Malik photographed the scene. Natalie's expression was grim as she closed the tablet. She informed me that both employees would be suspended immediately pending the investigation. She'd already called in the morning shift managers to ensure Brenda and Malik wouldn't be allowed back in the building when their shift ended at 7 a.m. Security would escort them out and collect their employee badges. But as she was leaving, Natalie mentioned something that made my blood run cold. Brenda had apparently sent messages to several other night shift employees about the incident, claiming a fake disabled guest was probably a predator. She'd shared my photo in their group chat. The damage was already spreading. I spent the rest of the early morning hours dealing with the fallout. The general manager arrived at 5 a.m., mortified and eager to contain the situation. He'd already seen the footage and couldn't stop apologizing. I made it clear that apologies weren't enough. This was a systemic failure. How had employees felt comfortable enough to act this way? What kind of culture had we allowed to develop? By 6 a.m., the hotel's senior management team had assembled in the conference room. I wheeled myself in, still exhausted, but determined. The head of security had prepared a presentation of the footage. As we watched it together, I saw several managers flinch. The head of housekeeping actually gasped when Brenda sprayed me with Lysol. The discussion that followed was intense. How had Brenda's previous complaints been brushed aside? Why hadn't Malik's training included disability sensitivity? What message were we sending to our employees, if this behavior was even possible? I made it clear, this wasn't just about two night managers. This was about our values as a company. As the meeting wrapped up, I noticed movement in the lobby through the conference room windows. Brenda and Malik had arrived for the end of their shift. They were laughing about something, completely unaware of what was waiting for them. Natalie and the security team were already positioned by the employee entrance. I watched from the conference room as Natalie approached them. The change in their body language was immediate. Brenda's smile vanished. Malik took a step back. Natalie handed them their suspension letters while security officers stood nearby. Brenda started gesturing wildly, apparently arguing. Malik just stood there, his face pale. Then Brenda spotted me through the conference room window. Our eyes met across the lobby. For a second, I saw panic flash across her face. Then something else, defiance. She said something to Natalie while pointing at me. Even from this distance, I could see Natalie's professional composure crack slightly at whatever Brenda had said. Security escorted them to collect their belongings. As they were let out, Brenda kept turning back to look at the conference room. At me. Her expression wasn't apologetic. It was calculating, like she was already planning her next move. The general manager closed the blinds, cutting off the view, but I knew this was far from over. Brenda's defiance. The group chat messages. The way she'd looked at me. It all pointed to someone who wouldn't go quietly. The investigation was just beginning, and something told me Brenda and Malik weren't going to make it easy. I thought about my mother again, about how she'd fought for me my entire life. She'd faced down doctors who said I'd never amount to anything. Teachers who wanted to put me in special programs I didn't need. Employers who saw the wheelchair before they saw my capabilities. She'd taught me that dignity wasn't something others could take away. It was something you carried inside yourself. But she'd also taught me to stand up to bullies, and that's exactly what I planned to do. The morning sun streamed through my suite windows as I finished my third cup of coffee. My phone vibrated with an incoming call from Natalie. She informed me that Brenda had just filed a formal complaint with corporate HR claiming disability discrimination and wrongful suspension. The irony wasn't lost on me. I wheeled myself down to the HR office on the second floor where Natalie had set up a temporary investigation headquarters. She showed me Brenda's complaint on her tablet. Brenda claimed I had orchestrated the entire incident to frame her, that I had pretended to be disabled to test employee responses, and that my suspension of her was retaliation for following proper security protocols. Natalie's assistant knocked and entered, carrying a stack of printed emails. Brenda had been busy overnight, sending messages to every hotel employee she could reach. The emails painted me as an unstable CEO who enjoyed entrapping hardworking staff members. She'd even created a timeline suggesting I had planned this sting operation for months. The head of security arrived with troubling news. The backup footage from the lobby cameras had somehow become corrupted. The primary files were intact, but the redundant copies I'd requested showed nothing but static. The head of security couldn't explain the technical failure, but I noticed he avoided making eye contact while delivering the news. I returned to my suite to find maintenance workers repairing the lock on my door. The hotel engineer explained that someone had attempted to access my room using an override code during the night. Security footage from the hallway showed a figure in a maintenance uniform, face obscured by a cap, trying different codes on my door panel around 6:30 a.m. Natalie called an emergency meeting with the senior management team. As I wheeled into the conference room, I noticed several managers exchanging glances. The atmosphere had shifted. Brenda's email campaign was working. During the meeting, the head of housekeeping mentioned that 3 night shift employees had come forward to support Brenda's version of events. They claimed to have witnessed me acting aggressively in the lobby, though none of them could explain why they hadn't appeared in any security footage. Their stories were remarkably similar, almost rehearsed. After the meeting, I encountered Malik in the hallway outside the business center. He looked haggard, dark circles under his eyes. He glanced around nervously before approaching my wheelchair. He started to speak, then noticed a security camera and quickly walked away, but not before I saw him slip a folded paper under a potted plant near the elevator. I retrieved the note after he left. His handwriting was shaky. She made me do it. She has things on me. Meet me in the loading dock at 2 p.m., please. I photographed the note and forwarded it to Natalie immediately. The hotel's head of IT knocked on my suite door an hour later. He discovered something disturbing while investigating the corrupted backup files. Someone with administrative access had logged into the security system at 3:47 a.m. and run a targeted corruption script on specific file segments. The login credentials belonged to a night manager account, but the actual access had come from an IP address registered to an internet cafe 6 blocks away. I took a wheelchair-accessible taxi to our corporate offices across town. As the driver helped me into the vehicle, I noticed a familiar figure watching from a coffee shop across the street. Brenda. Despite being suspended, she was photographing my every move. The taxi driver mentioned someone had called earlier asking about my destination before I even booked the ride. At corporate HQ, I found Julian looking concerned. He showed me his inbox, filled with anonymous emails detailing my supposed history of erratic behavior and vendettas against hardworking employees. The emails included doctored screenshots of fabricated complaints, complete with fake case numbers and dates. Our IT team traced the emails to the same internet cafe. Unfortunately, surveillance footage from the cafe was unavailable, conveniently lost during a system maintenance that morning. Back at the hotel, I arrived at the loading dock at 2 p.m. as Malik had requested. He was pacing nervously between delivery trucks, constantly checking his phone. When he saw me approaching, he looked ready to run. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed me a series of text messages from Brenda. The messages revealed Brenda's web of manipulation. She had photos of Malik from 2 years ago when he let a friend stay in an empty room without charging them. A minor infraction, but Brenda had built it up into a theft accusation and threatened to report him for embezzlement. She'd been holding it over him ever since. His hands shook as he scrolled through more messages. Brenda had been systematically gathering dirt on night shift employees for years, photos of them taking extended breaks, minor policy violations, even personal information about family troubles and financial problems. She used this information to create a network of people too scared to oppose her. He showed me a group chat where Brenda was coordinating her defense, assigning roles to different employees to back her claims, to say they witnessed my aggressive behavior, to spread rumors among the day staff. Then her name flashed on his phone. At my gesture, he answered on speaker. Her voice was calm but threatening. She reminded him of their agreement, then casually mentioned his daughter's school by name. After she hung up, Malik broke down. He admitted to helping her access the security system using his override codes. He created the maintenance disguise and attempted to enter my room, supposedly to look for evidence of my fake disability. He hadn't known about the corruption script. I convinced him to document everything in a written statement. Natalie helped him draft it. He revealed Brenda had targeted guests she deemed unworthy of the hotel, especially the disabled or people of certain ethnic backgrounds. We found a hidden file on the hotel's shared drive with logs of her surveillance, coaching employees on how to push certain guests out. Then my phone rang. It was our corporate communications director. Someone had leaked a story to an industry blog about a CEO gone rogue, purging staff. The post included my photo and enough truth to be dangerous. Former employees began reaching out. Some had left in silence under Brenda's shadow. They were finally speaking up. Then I received another anonymous message. Drop the investigation or the corruption goes deeper than backup files. Attached was a photo of my torn-up medical records, painstakingly reassembled. The next morning, Natalie called. 3 members of the investigation committee received anonymous packages with USB drives, edited footage of me designed to appear incriminating. Brenda had been accessing the system for months, compiling blackmail material, including Brenda from guest spaces. 2 board members contacted Julian with concerns about my leadership, citing anonymous packages suggesting I was unstable post-disability. Brenda was trying to turn the board against me. Later that day, Natalie told me Brenda had accessed my employee file using stolen credentials, emergency contact info, accommodation records, even my direct deposit info. The invasion of privacy was staggering. Then came a breakthrough. Bob Robbins from maintenance came forward. He had proof Brenda had been embezzling from the hotel for years through fake vendor invoices and kickbacks. He'd kept everything, anticipating she might turn on him. Within hours, Bob received photos of his son taken at school. He requested police protection. We escalated things with law enforcement. Then Brenda returned. She used an old code to enter the building and was caught on camera entering the IT server room. She had magnets in her bag and was trying to destroy evidence. When she saw me, she fled. Security barely missed her. Back in Natalie's office, we discovered she'd sent another wave of emails during her escape, using the forged documents from her insurance folder, now targeting me. Malik arrived, shaken. Brenda had left a voicemail threatening his wife's immigration status. Natalie reconvened the investigation committee. 2 members returned, furious. They'd discovered the emergencies that pulled them off the case had been manufactured. Our IT team partially recovered the corrupted footage, audio of Brenda instructing Malik to humiliate disabled guests. A bank near the hotel reported Brenda had tried to access a safety deposit box that morning but fled when questioned. Daniel, the night auditor, shared his private journal, dates, times, and notes about Brenda's abuse. More witnesses emerged. We presented everything to the board. The crude forgeries in Brenda's files didn't match company formatting. The board saw through the lies. That evening, Brenda made a critical mistake. She contacted a gossip blogger offering to sell her story and evidence. The blogger tipped us off. At a staged meeting, our security team recorded everything. Brenda accidentally included her original unedited files on the laptop, full context intact. We had irrefutable proof. Natalie's team worked through the night. Termination documents were filed. Embezzlement evidence sent to law enforcement. The next day, I met with every employee affected by Brenda's schemes. Some had lived under blackmail. Others had left. Each had a story that underscored the damage she caused. Bob returned with more evidence. Brenda had sold master key codes to outsiders. Our HR team confirmed she manipulated employee reviews to reward loyalists and punish dissent. Brenda was detained at the airport trying to flee the country. She had fake IDs, large sums of cash, and the safety deposit box key. Inside the box, USB drives, blackmail files, years of embezzlement records. The investigation committee's final report cited systemic failures, recommending full policy reforms, access audits, anonymous reporting, mandatory training. I met with Malik one last time. Free from Brenda's grip, he confessed she'd recruited him at a prior job where he had a record. She knew exactly how to control him. Her network collapsed. Dozens came forward. Legal prepared the full case. The discrimination affected over 40 documented guests. The embezzlement exceeded $300,000. We reformed hiring, reset codes, implemented rigorous reporting systems, trained every manager. The hotel began to heal. Guests with disabilities returned. Morale rose. 6 months later, complaints were gone. Satisfaction soared. On my desk, I keep a photo, not of that night, but of my mother. She taught me to fight for dignity. Facing Brenda's cruelty honored her legacy. This hotel is now a place she would have been proud of. If you've ever felt overlooked, mistreated, or silenced, know this: your story matters. Speaking up takes courage, but it also sparks change. Whether you're rolling through the world in a wheelchair, standing up to bullies, or navigating a system that wasn't built with you in mind, your voice is powerful. Share your story. Stay strong. Someone out there needs to hear it.